Hey Ringside crew. Welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. And now here's your host, Joe, Panther the Third.
Hello there, wrestling fans, and welcome to the internationally known Dudes at Ringside podcast. I'm your host, Joe Panther the Third, and man, today we have a very special episode. This promotion, I've had the likes of Echo Reed, I've had Mr. Valentine, but today I have somebody that's high on that mountain for this awesome promotion. Let's give a warm Dudes at Ringside welcome to Jason King. Welcome, Jason. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me.
No problem. So, introduce yourself to my internationally known audience.
So my name's Jason King, as you correctly said, and I am the owner of Reach Wrestling. We're a professional wrestling organization based in the southwest of England, and primarily do our shows across 2 counties. For you Americans, that would be like a state. So across 2 states, Devon and Cornwall is where we primarily run. Doing this for 6 years. I've been a pro wrestler for 10.
Wow. So, let's go back, Jason, within your wrestling career. Who trained you?
That's a good question. So I was initially trained originally by a chap called the UK Kid, Tom Jones. His real name is a company called Varsity Pro Wrestling in a place called Portsmouth. British guys will know Portsmouth. It's down on the southeast coast, or the south coast of England. And Tom was trained by Shawn Michaels. So my feeling was, if he was good enough for Shawn Michaels, he's good enough for me. So, or if you know, I learned a hell of a lot from this man. I still do today. Still talk to him today, 10, 12, 15 years later. And always for advice. I can always go to him for advice. And I left wrestling maybe 7 years or so. I took a break, went on to do other things in my life. And then one day I got the itch again. And I came back to an organization a lot closer to home, called LEP, Limited Edition Promotions, down in a small seaside town called Torquay. And I competed with those guys for 2 years training under a man named Danny Walsh, a good friend of mine. Another man I'm grateful to, both Tom and Danny, very grateful for the opportunities and platforms they both gave me.
Awesome. So, what was it like to walk in that training facility for the very first time? Were you nervous? Were you excited? Like, were you on the fence about it?
I had no idea what to expect. It's something I'll explain with a lot of people outside of wrestling. I've been in this job long enough now where I don't spend all my time explaining, because there are those that want to know and those that don't, and those that, of course, think they know. And usually those that think they know the least. One of the big things about pro wrestling that a lot of people don't understand is how much work one puts in to become a quality pro wrestler, what we call a good worker in our inner circle, somebody that can really work. And that's the term, if you understand pro wrestling, what that means. If you don't understand pro wrestling, it probably makes no sense to you. But let's just say, for the sake of time, that we understand what a good worker is. I had no idea when I first walked through the door, what it meant to be a good worker, what it meant to be a pro wrestler. I thought I knew because I was a super fan, like we all are, right? I was a fan that read all the magazines, and I thought I knew everything because the internet told me this and the internet told me that. So I knew who the best wrestlers were because the internet told me, and I knew who the best was because the magazine told me. Once I got in the ring and I started learning to do the conditioning, the requirement of the amount of conditioning, and I got in the ring and I had to learn to bump. Jesus Christ, learning to hit the ropes. I mean, that hurts like hell. Nobody tells you how hard it is hitting the ropes. One of the biggest things when my guys start training with me is they all think, oh, hitting that mat's like hitting a trampoline. They take a look when they take that first bump. They look at me like, what in the world just happened? And I say, again, we do a few reps, 4 reps, 5 reps, 10 reps, whatever the deal is. Then I say, let's start hitting those ropes. They can't believe it. They take 2-3 days off. And they sit there thinking, huh? I don't see this stuff on TV. These guys don't do this stuff. And what they often don't understand is the grind, that you need to go through before you get your first few opportunities. Now, I say all this to say, what did I think when I first started? I thought I knew everything. I thought, "Oh, I know what it takes to be a pro wrestler. I'll get in there, do some holds, do some moves, I'll be fine." Couldn't have been more wrong. Could not have been more wrong. I got my ass kicked on a regular basis. I got whooped on a regular basis. I got humbled on a regular basis. I got taught a lesson on a regular basis. What that did for me was taught me life lessons, skills that I have forever, durability, resilience that I'll now have forever, that I learned through pro wrestling. Was I excited? Yes. Was I nervous? Yes. Was I an idiot? Yes.
So let's go a little further in. What was your energy like the first time you went through the curtain for your very first match? And what was your song?
I've no idea what the song was it's picked for me. So he's a bit of a rib on me, really. My coach at the time, Tom, is a son of a bitch, and I remember him telling me, he said, "Don't forget to shave your legs." And I said, "Like, what? What are you talking about?" And he said, "You got to shave your legs before you go out because you're wearing wrestling tights." And I said, "I'm a man. Men don't shave their legs." He said, "What are you talking about? Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, they shave all their body. You need to make sure you shave your legs." And he said to me, "Get all behind your knees, get everything." He said, "You can't have any hair on your legs whatsoever." So of course I'm brand new and I'm doing whatever my coach says. If he'd have said to me, "Jump off the bloody bridge," I'd have jumped off the bridge because I'd have said, "Yes, sir, whatever you say." I went home that night and I remember shaving my legs, and I'd never shaved my legs before. And I did one hell of a job. I mean, ladies would have liked my legs. I was so proud of the job I did. I was like, "Yeah, I've impressed my coach. He's going to be so proud of me. I shaved my legs." I remember turning up on the day in front of everybody. He said to me, "Hey, did you shave your legs like I asked?" I said, "Yes, sir." Super proud, pulled my trouser leg up. And everyone burst out laughing. Everyone's laughing at me, and I'm thinking, "You son of a bitch. I put so much work into shaving my legs. It's all a rib. He's winding me up." Somebody else was like, "Dude, I don't shave my legs." And the next guy's like, "I don't shave mine either." So I don't remember what my song was, but I remember getting ripped on like my first time wrestling.
Oh my god.
It was funny. I didn't find it funny at the time, but it's funny now to look back. I wrestled in Exeter. Exeter is where I'm from. So my first show was in front of 450 people.
Wow.
It was in Exeter, so it was a huge. Yeah, I was very lucky, very blessed, very grateful till this day to have a debut like that. And Hardcore Holly from WWE, Bob Holly, was on the show, and I remember speaking to Bob backstage and said, "Bob, would you mind watching my match, please? I'd love any feedback you've got." And something that will live with me forever was I get backstage and I asked how I did, and he comes up to me. I can't do an American accent, but I'll try. He's like, "Kid, come here. I want to show you something." And I'm like, "Yes, sir, Mr. Holly." He said, "Lock up with me, kid." And I lock up with him, collar and elbow tie up. He slams me into a wall. And at this point, I weighed probably 10 and a half, 11 stone. Bob Holly is, 240, 250. So I would have been about 155 for you Americans. I'd have weighed about 155. Bob's like, got 90 pounds on me. He slams me into a wall and says, "Kid, I made you look like a bitch." And I'm thinking, "Yes, sir, Mr. Holly, yes, you did." And he's like, "God damn it, lock up with me, kid." I lock up with him the second time, and I thought, "You're not doing that again." So I locked up with him the second time. I really gave him all I had. We get a clean break, and he looks at me and he says, with a big smile, "Kid, that's more like it. That's what I want to see." He starts giving me all this feedback. I remember thinking, "Holy shit, Hardcore Holly is telling me how to be a professional wrestler." And I was smiling the whole time. My coach said, "Stop smiling." I was like, "Yes, sir. Sorry." I just couldn't believe it. I was like, "Bob Holly is telling me what to do. He's telling me how to be a pro wrestler." So I don't remember what my music was, but I do remember getting ripped about shaving my legs. And I do remember Bob Holly calling me a bitch. And then telling my coach, he says, "Tom, put him in a match tomorrow night. I want to see if he listens to my feedback." So Bob Holly effectively got me my second ever booking. So that's really cool. That was
Yeah,
really cool.
that's awesome. So now let's now turn the page to now you being like with your promotion you work with Reach. Like, what
Oh.
is it like to train and work with like the future of the independent wrestling scene, like the young lions of you might say of the independent? Is it easier to work with the younger stars or the older stars that you encounter?
I don't really have a preference. My reason I don't have a preference is because, again, I prided myself on my work, my ability to what we call work. And there's a misconception on what work is. And I won't give away all the secrets of pro wrestling, but to be complimented by the people that I deem my peers, to be complimented by the people that understand this job in this country and rate my work in this country was enough for me to know that the style in which I wrestle as works for me. Now, I say this to say, because I know what my style is as a competitor and as more importantly a performer, I have to just tailor what I do, usually, a little bit or a lot to other people. It doesn't really matter to me whether I wrestle someone with 20 years. I mean, I've wrestled Scotty Too Hotty, um, not long ago, 2 months ago maybe. Before that, I've wrestled Tom LaRuffa from NXT and Impact Wrestling over in France. But in the same breath, I've wrestled guys who have had their debut match. It's their first time on a show ever, and they're in there with me. There wasn't really a preference. I didn't really have a preference who I compete with because the performance is for the people, it's for the customer, for the client. That's who you perform for. So I really have no either which way. My job, if you're the promoter and you pay me my required fee, my agreed fee to come and work with you, whether you say to me you're in the opening match against Joe Bloggs, it's his first day on the job, or you say you're against my main event champion of 12 years, he's the biggest superstar in this region of the world, or whatever the gig, it's really irrelevant. My job to entertain your audience, so it's irrelevant to me whether I wrestle the biggest, strongest, fastest, or the slowest, always fastest. Doesn't really matter. No preference at all. My job is to perform for the people, not for my opponent.
Oh, wow. So, what is it like to be a promoter like the week of a show? Do you have to like to set like your calendar book to okay, this is the week I'm going to unveil the poster for the show? Like is this the week like how do you what do you do? Like what is your daily planning like as a promoter?
So the first thing is it's hard. And it's a lot of work. And it's very stressful. Anybody who's ever tried to run a show will tell you a lot of work. And again, we talk about being a wrestler, about how hard it is to be a wrestler. The best promoters usually, they're not just money men from different businesses, will usually be an ex promoter or an ex wrestler that understands the work required going into the running of a show. They're usually an experienced wrestler that's got experience from competing and performing as a wrestler. My usual day to day when promoting a show will usually, not always, usually involve anything from writing down risk assessments, running down match cards, checking all talent or where they're supposed to be at the right times, providing jobs to staff and explaining what's required from each member of staff on the day, dealing with insurance, making sure it's in place, making sure payment is done adequately and pretty quickly. I like to make sure everybody's paid on time. Before that, there's a lot of prep that goes in with advertising, with marketing, with there's a real magic to booking correctly your shows, who competes with who performs with who, the order in which the card is put together. There's a lot of art that goes into that, and there's a real skill in that. Putting out fires is a big one. Putting out fires is a big one in pro wrestling. I don't mean physical fires. I'm not a fireman. What I mean by fires is problems that will be generated, usually from one wrestler to another. Having to put out, it could be due to lack of direction. It could be the one guy's had a bad day or one girl's had a bad day and they suddenly deem their situation is this, that, or the other. You've got to be the boss. All right. You've got to be the boss and you've got to keep the boat rowing forward always. You must continue to push forward always, always, always. There's no time for stagnant. If you stop, you die. We're like a shark. Right. We must continue to push forward always. So I hope that explains a little bit about what my philosophy is, but also what I do day to day. From as simple as putting a match together for two newer competitors versus sitting down with venues and fire marshals and going through exactly what's expected on the day or going through first aid requirements. It's everything that you could think of and in between. I have a really, really good staff, and now's a great time to say it. I could not do what I do, reach wrestling success. We sold out 10 shows last year, 10
Wow.
out of 11, I think it was. Yeah, it was fantastic. Wow, I was right, and I'm very grateful. Blessed as hell to be in the situation we're in, but also you couldn't do it without the team. It's a team. One of my best qualities is knowing who to put where in my team. because I have some really, really good staff, some really good staff. And without those staff, Reach Wrestling wouldn't be successful. So people might see me as the face of Reach Wrestling. But the reality of the situation is I might be the face of the job. But having people brighter than me, and they are brighter than me that take on the tasks I cannot do, as what has made Reach successful. My job is to make decisions, absolutely. And I know a little bit about this and a little bit of that, but the reality is I have people in place brighter than me that I have an event manager. We have security staff that know how to keep the day to day running of everything going. I have backstage staff. I have front of house staff, front of house manager. We have people for lighting and for music that are all skilled in their tasks, and their ability and their skill in their tasks makes my job easier, allows me to focus on other tasks. Does that make sense if I say that? There's a lot of information, but I wanted to get that point out if I could.
So, with it being a new year, have you set a goal on bringing Reach to another part of the UK, or have you done that already?
Yes, we have. So Devon and Cornwall, the two counties that we currently compete in. We're looking at going to London. I got to be honest, bit of a spoiler there. So I don't know. None of our no one really knows that. I don't think. But we had a deal lined up with a venue in London last year, but the deal fell through. It didn't quite come to fruition. But we are looking at doing something in London, going to the capital and trying out a little bit at the second part of this year. I would imagine if we decide to go for it and go with it, then the second part of the year would be in London. Yeah.
Awesome. That's so cool. Do you guys have a YouTube channel if my fans want to follow you guys on YouTube
Yeah,
or
absolutely. Look up Reach Wrestling. I think we got just under 2,000 subscribers. There's weekly content goes up on our YouTube every single week from our previous YouTube shows and matches from our live performances, interviews, all sorts of things. Lots of content on our YouTube. Absolutely. Reach Wrestling.
Awesome. If my American fans are like, people are always on X or Instagram, let us where can my fans follow Reach on social media?
Again, on Instagram, you can find us Reach Wrestling or Reach Wrestling Academy. And you can find me if you wish as official Jason King. We don't use X or Twitter or any of that nonsense. But YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, you can find us at Reach Wrestling or Reach Academy. That's where you'll find us.
Awesome. Before we go, let's talk about your upcoming shows. Like let's like to my fans if they're some reason on a trip across the pond and they want to come to a Reach show, where can they when's the upcoming shows?
So if you go to reachwrestling.com, you'll see all our upcoming shows. I think at the time that we are recording this, it's slightly before two shows. So when this goes out, we should have had a show February 10th, February 18th. Then we've got April 21st. Those three are all in Plymouth. May 25th is in Tavistock. July 27th is back in Plymouth. It's our 6-year anniversary show. No dates have been announced. After that, I think we've got one more to announce in May. A second show for our students of Unit 10, our training school. We've got one of those shows. But other than that, there's nothing else. But if you look up reachwrestling.com onto our website, go into the event page, you can buy tickets to anything you wish to buy to, or of course you can catch us on YouTube, as we said at Reach Wrestling, and watch as much content as you like for free.
Awesome. So my last question for you, if there was any kids out there that really wanted to get into the wrestling business,
Yes.
what kind of advice would you give them?
When we say kids, how young are we talking?
I say kids because I'm 40, so I call the kids I work with the 18, 19-year-old that wanted to get into the business.
I would say to them, firstly, be careful. And I would say no one at 18, 19, or very few are really going to do this, but let's imagine they are, and we live in an ideal world. I would say do a little bit of research. Look around at what it is that you're trying to get from pro wrestling, because different schools offer different things. All right. For example, my school, Reach Wrestling, I've never been able to say to anybody ever, and I never would. I've never ever said, trust me, work with me, and I'll make you a WWE superstar, because I didn't say I could do that, and I don't know if I could. I don't work for the WWE. I work for Reach Wrestling. So, why am I saying this? Look at what it is you're trying to get out of the school you go to. Look at what the school provides. Look at the history. Look at the reviews. What do you know about the school? Do they offer a free taster session? I know we do at Reach. I say this because you may attend a school and say, okay, I've tried that one. I would like to try somewhere else. or I'd like to try this place or that place. Don't be afraid to shop around. If you're going to commit to something, and that is the ultimate goal with wrestling, you've got to commit to this thing. You can't come in and out when you feel like it. It doesn't. You can't play by those rules. It's a hell of a commitment. Pro wrestling, a hell of a commitment. Find the place that suits your goal best. I have a lot of guys in my training school and girls that do this thing for fitness, do this thing to meet like-minded people, meet friends. They enjoy just coming to class, getting a bit of a grilling about things they're not working hard on, and a bit of praise for the things they're doing well. And once every few months, they might get told, you've got a match coming up, and they're over the moon. And they buy tickets for their friends and family, and they have a great time. And that's enough for them. At other times in the school, I've had guys and girls that are super ambitious, want to get all the way to WWE. So we push them a little harder, we teach them a little harder, and we give them a little more opportunity because that's what they're looking for. It all depends what you want out of this thing. Every individual is different. There isn't no one size fits all. It would be easy for every training school to say, like they do, come on down, and I'll do this and I'll do that. But you don't know what everybody wants. Take the time to stop, get to a school, see if it's for you. When you find a place that suits you best, commit to the bloody task. Don't wishy-washy this thing. Give it everything you've got, and only when you give it everything you've got will you know truly, yes or no, this is for me or it's not for me. If I had £1 for everybody that came through the school that I've seen over the years that has really thought, I'm going to be a pro wrestler, they got a few months in and realized, shit, this is too tough for me. This ain't what I thought it was. This thing is way different than the requirement is more than I thought. The job is tougher than I realized. That happens all the time. So, one, look at the school, find the one that best suits your goals, and two, commit to the task. Because if you do not commit to the task, probably no point in you show up at the bloody first one. Because all that will happen is people will just keep passing you by, wasting your time, and say, if it's me, my time. I hope that
Awesome.
makes sense.
Oh, Jason, you made lots of sense, and I know there's somewhere out there there's a young wrestling fan that watched that and was going, "Okay, I think this is for me," or "Oh
I hope
no,
so.
what did I do?" But Jason, I want to
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It really means a lot to have you on here representing Reach because Reach is awesome. And please tell your wrestlers about Dudes at Ringside
I
because
certainly will.
Reach is
Would
awesome.
you like me? I mean, I can get them to message you, and I'm sure they'd love to come on the podcast and have a chat with you.
Please, thank you. I'm Joe Panther the Third. Your turn.
Oh, and I'm Jason King.
And we will catch you in the next one. Have a good day or have a good night, everybody.